Wow, did I just say that?
Yeah. Are you trying to prove a point?
I know.
Or-
I'm such a misogynist.
Oh my god.
Oh, I'm so canceled. I'm so canceled at this moment. So let's get into the spoilers. Let's first talk about Taskmaster. I'm going online and I'm seeing so Taskmaster was a dude in the comic books, pretty powerful dude. And in Black Widow, Taskmaster is a woman. She's the daughter of the big villain. What are your general feelings about that? The idea that Marvel once again has radically changed an iconic character in the comic book universe.
I didn't know. I mean, it didn't quite bother me because Taskmaster was wearing a helmet the whole time during the film, and when it's finally revealed who it is and everything, unless you like read IMDb and all that stuff, you wouldn't have known. So It didn't quite bother me. I think it worked better with their story that they were telling.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it threw in, the elements of like experimentation and human trafficking and things, mind control, and but at the same time,
what you would do to your blown up daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At the same time, it's I don't see why they didn't just go with the original character. But I can see why they changed it. It just works better with the story they're trying to tell.
I think it like accents the subtext of what they're getting at more than just this like if they would have not done anything like beyond just having Taskmaster like kicking butt, like that would have been cool, but adding kind of that extra layer I think was very effective for the story.
Yeah, it was needed.
Regardless of sex or whatever. Does anybody know if people are mad about this?
Yeah, I'm sure there are.
Yeah.
I could say Twitter. I don't think I don't know. I mean, I'm reading stuff, but honestly, I kind of expected that when I saw it. It's like, okay, here's something for trolls to eat into.
Oh, yeah.
They did with the Mandarin in Iron Man 3, where it's like, wow, this villain that I've known for a long time is now a British actor.
Yeah.
Which apparently they're bringing the real Mandarin back. But, that's the feeling I got then. And I kind of accepted with the fact that, these are movies and, you just can't, there's a shelf life to it. There's a shelf life to Iron Man. There's a shelf life to Captain America. At some point, they're going to have to retire Thor and retire a lot of these characters and move on and tell other stories. And so I'm less bothered by the gender switch, so to speak, of Taskmaster. I felt like they got the character down. I think the mind control aspect of it kind of removed personality from the Taskmaster, which was really the only thing that bothered me.
Yeah,
really about it.
Yeah, I wish that the Taskmaster would have had more of a character. It was just she was mute the whole movie, and they told her story by her father telling the story and Black Widow telling her story. She didn't get to tell her own story. Mm-hmm. Other people did.
Well, okay, yes, but then think about it. She has a chip in the back of her neck, all this stuff. The character can't express herself, and like that's kind of the point of them creating the character that way, because Dreykov, she's like the ultimate example of what Dreykov wanted to create with the Widows. Mm-hmm. And so I think that they kind of have to have it that way, because like if your mind is being so controlled and you almost died and all this other stuff, I mean, I could see it made sense to me.
Yeah, it's like the Boba Fett story. Jango Fett won. And he made Taskmaster. All right. So okay. So I did like the movie all the way through. I was really engaged in it. I liked the story. I do like the fact that they brought back this ability that Natasha had that we saw in the first Avengers movie was this ability to use feminine weakness, so to speak, to draw the plan out of the bad guy. I was glad to see it brought back here, because because we really hadn't seen that ability in her since the first Avengers movie.
Right.
I mean, first of all, I would say that it's like feminine wiles would be a good word to use instead of weakness. But
yeah, I mean,
yeah, I know what you mean.
I mean, I'll just say it from the villain's perspective. You know,
it appears as
I'm a misogynist. Yeah, if I'm a misogynist, and this is essentially what this movie is about, it's this idea that women are weak, and he preys upon that weakness, and he does that here with even Natasha.
Oh yeah, and then but it's cool that she's able to turn the tables on him, but it's also kind of like something that you would assume would happen because it's her movie. But I do like that you use something that is like a stereotype to and turn it on its head to like screw somebody over. It's kind of refreshing.
Yeah.
Guess. Like,
she basically uses the male bravado against
yes.
Yeah.
Which I've found very entertaining.
Of course you did. Yeah. So this is I'll make this the most controversial thing I say that will probably get me canceled. But I was really into it. The ending for me, the whole hey, all the women get together and fight the bad guy. There was not. I think it was a deserved moment. You have these widows who had been enslaved, trafficked, mind control. All banding together, and in the end, they sort of it feels like they form this sort of club. It was at that moment that I had to go back and think about the entire movie and realize, all the men in this movie are either villains or oafs.
Yeah.
And
okay.
And it's like I hadn't thought about it until that moment in time of the story, where it becomes this, they're making a statement right now. And I just felt like at that point, not only was the statement a little heavy-handed and a little too obvious, but then it did get me to think, wow, men bad. And then I thought about Olympus. Was it Olympus Has Fallen, the one where they take over the White House?
Yeah.
It was that was the last movie that I saw where, okay, all the Asian people are bad guys. And all the non-Asians are the good guys, and that's the sense I got in this. So, wow, men are really bad, and there's no, other than the oaf father and the and her, her supplier, Black Widow supplier. All the men are pretty much bad in this movie.
That's true. Like I didn't think about it, but I also think that David Harbour kind of redeems himself towards the end of the movie. Like, yeah, he's kind of an idiot, but I think that he has his redemption at the end of the film. But
go ahead.
I do kind of see where you're coming from, and it was a bit heavy-handed now that I'm thinking about it. But if you want to make that nitpick, then you have to look at every other movie with all the women that get made to look like total idiots, and all the men are the heroes.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's not as if it's a valid, not a valid criticism, but it's like it's done the opposite way, all through history.
Well, the ironic moment is, I believe he's watching Moonraker, right?
Yeah,
I mean, James Bond is the total misogynist.
Oh, yeah.
Women are used to him for pleasure. The ones who save his lives, he'll eventually bed them. Then a woman will come along and be the strong woman to stand up to his male ego, but then ultimately she goes to bed with him anyways. So yeah. So yeah, you're right. I can't complain. I'm just saying that there, it's kind of like, how much tit do we need for the tat? Wow, did I just say that?
Yeah. Are you trying to prove a point?
I know. I'm so cutting that out. I'm cutting that out.
Oh my god.
Oh, I'm so canceled. I'm so canceled at this moment. Yeah, oh wow.
But
I really should just leave that in just to.
I think you should leave it in. I think it's
I gotta keep that. Oh, sorry, folks. You know what I mean. Yeah, it's kind of like the point I'm making is, well, how much revenge do we need to take? Does the now next 100 movies, emasculate men? And I think there does have to come a point where we say, all right, we've grown, we've progressed as a society, and we need to show this equality and this balance between genders.
I agree with that. I think that that this is like I think that it's a stepping stone towards that, to kind of like maybe people feel like there needs to be an even playing field in art before that happens, and that's why they're writing things like this. But I think I agree with you. Like, I'm not saying like all movies should be about the men falling to their death or whatever. Like I think that but I do think it's cool that a Disney movie is saying like is giving positive reinforcement with a female character, and not saying that the only thing you can do is be a princess. So that's cool. They're starting to do that with a lot of stuff anyway, but it's just like the furthering of that.
I mean, you see Frozen, and that's where the tables started turning for Disney.
I think, to me, the issue I have with this one, because the same issue was brought up with Captain Marvel, the idea that Captain Marvel's power and potential was being held back, as the that's the moral tale there. But the thing is, in terms of Captain Marvel, that idea was serviced as an allegory to women's issues, and to this one, it just kind of was a little more was more blatant. And I think that's what really struck me. And really, you bring it up nitpicking. Yeah, it is nitpicking because it only happens, within the end of the movie. 2 minutes of the entire movie.
Yeah, I mean, to like your point, I don't even know if I'm agreeing with you or not, but it does go back to like it was Endgame, where you saw that big scene with of all the the female superheroes and what, which was a very cool image, and I know like a lot of people either liked it or hated it. It was no in between. It was like, but I could see like I have a niece, and for her to see something on screen that resembled her was probably a great thing for a lot of women to see, because it's like, okay, now we're we have the spotlight for that one, that one little scene out of all the MCU.
Yeah.
But I think that the Black Widow scene and all of them banding together, it did make me think of that moment. But I think it's the times that we're in. Art will replicate, life as it's going on. Even though you try to create art to get away from everything, it's almost like there's no separating the two. Almost, something politically or socially is going to be in the art that you're creating of the time that you're in. So I think that just is another thing that Disney was like, okay, we see what's going on. We see, the oppression of women, and it's been happening, like Lorry said, in the movies for years. So I think it's like, okay, we're gonna try to make up for that, but we're also gonna like throw it in your face to like, yeah, we did it. Like,
yeah, and so we don't have to do it again, kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you mentioned the Avengers moment. I'm nitpicking it here. The question ultimately comes is how many times can we play that card in the next subsequent movies?
They shouldn't, because then it'll become pointless.
Yeah, because I think it will weaken that message.
Yeah,
I think, there has to be a point where men and women can stand together and fight crime and save the universe, and not have it become a thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that context has to be correct to make that kind of statement. And the moment in Avengers, I liked it, but I feel like it was definitely fan service. But that's what the MCU does. They love to do that, and it's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But yeah, I agree with you, Alan. I don't think that they should, anybody doing like performative wokeness is just like, if you're
almost
trying,
like fake.
Yes, it's fake. Like if you're trying to tell a story about a woman, then, just tell the story about the woman. If you're trying to tell a story about a man, tell it about a man. Like, like it that way there will be equality. Just don't think about like gimmickry, like when you're writing a screenplay, and then that might not happen. I don't know.
Yeah, it's this idea of cognitive dissonance.
When
you see a story, you relate to it. You dive yourself into that story. You become a part of that story emotionally, mentally. But when something out of the blue happens, something that feels off, something that doesn't feel natural to the story that's being told, your brain kicks you out of that story, and then makes you think about, hey, all the dudes in this movie are evil or stupid. And to me, I was bought in. I was locked into this movie up until that moment. It's just like, okay, the statement was made. I got snapped out of the movie at that point.
Well, something that could have worked differently, and I'll ask Chris about this because you know about the comics. So Melina, which is Rachel Weisz's character, she's Dreykov's, like one of Dreykov's widows, but she ends up like crossing over to the good side. Does this happen in the comics with Iron Maiden?
Actually, I don't know too much about Iron Maiden, so you put me on the spot there. But...
I'm sorry.
I don't think you're the only one. The thing about the Marvel Universe is so much story, so many characters.
Yeah.
And unless you have a lot of money, I quit buying comic books when they started charging me $1.25 for it.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, what are you saying?
No,
yeah. No,
well,
but
I don't know too much about the Iron Maiden character, so I'm sure they've embellished things and like changed things to fit their story better.
Yeah.
It didn't bother me,
and
Yeah,
that's par for the course for comic books. I mean, if they want to change direction, they'll change direction. It's like wrestling. Heels will turn babyface on a dime because they have a different story they want to tell, and comic books are the same way. Okay, well let's make them a good guy now.
I mean, look at Loki. Like, he's been a villain forever, and then people loved him so much that they're like, well, how can we fit him into something where we can make his character even bigger, but also make money out of it too at the same time? They see what the audience loves, so they'll milk it for what it is.
Hey, we're gonna spoil Loki real quick for those watching, but you bring up an interesting point. But Loki he follows that cycle of mischief to redemption. Where he has to be bad and then ultimately become good and turn around, and I think that the TV series just really plays into the fact that he's in this cycle of he's either good or he's bad, and he can't stay still in one state or the other. Sorry for those of you who haven't seen Loki yet.
You should watch it.
It's great so far.
It's really, really good.
Yeah. It's setting up the Fantastic Four, which is what I like. All right. Any other thoughts about the movie?
Let's talk about the end scene.
Okay.
The end credit scene. I thought that was, I love. I mean, again, if you like yawned or nodded off, spoiler alert. So Julia Louis-Dreyfus comes back as Valentina, which she was in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And so basically, I think she's setting up the premise for Hawkeye, which is really, really cool.
Yeah. So, I'll just, my daughter, before what we watched Black Widow, looked up IMDb and looked up Florence Pugh, and Florence is in the Hawkeye TV series for almost the entire series. Sorry to spoil that, but it's on IMDb.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the interesting thing to me. So Valentina, so she in Falcon Winter Soldier, she has her fake Captain America. With Yelena, she now has her fake Black Widow.
Yeah.
We have Kate Bishop showing up in Hawkeye, which probably says she's going to get her fake Hawkeye. So is Valentina building her own fake Avengers? Just kind of wait. Yeah, or she goes after Jane Foster and her fake Thor.
Yeah.
Well, that's what's going to happen in Love and Thunder, probably.
Yeah, and then they're doing She-Hulk. So now she has her fake Hulk.
Yeah.
Wow, we're diving so deep.
Something kind of funny that I was talking to my boyfriend about is that I'm going to be in a walker and they're still going to be like revealing like new characters and stuff. And we're going to be like, okay, let's go to the movies and see like what She-Hulk and like, you know, young Loki and all these, because they're going to keep doing this for the rest of our lives, I feel like, which is kind of cool, but it's also sort of strange.
Yeah, well, what I like about the MCU is that they can retire characters, that they've retired Captain America, they've retired Iron Man, they've retired Black Widow. So, and now they have a vault full of characters they can bring in behind it and never have to bring it back. So, I mean, think about it. Tom Holland can't look like a kid forever.
Yeah.
He's going to have to grow up. And so at some point, they may have to retire Spider-Man, or Sony's going to get greedy and come up with a fourth one.
Yeah, I don't think Sony would retire Spider-Man. That's their cash cow there.
They'll do it. I mean, there's definitely going to be another, Into the Spider-Verse, and then I think that they might do a live-action Miles Morales Spider-Man. Somebody.
Yeah,
might do that.
I could see that happening.
Like
the bench is so deep.
Yeah. Well, I think that.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, I think that Disney, they had trouble with letting characters go at like the first few phases, the first like 2 phases. Somebody would die, they would bring them back in a series, or somebody would die, and then there's always a way to bring them back. So I hope that they kind of like keep this idea of like, we don't need to bring them back. We did them justice. Let's move on to other characters and tell their stories. Yeah. Because I feel like, I don't know, when I see a character that dies and then comes back, it's just like, oh, this again? Like, just let them die.
But then we have to talk about like Multiverse of Madness and what's going to happen there, because that could release a whole bunch of alternate Captain Americas and alternate Iron Mans and all this other stuff.
Well, I think it is. There's a reason I stopped collecting Marvel or stopped reading Marvel 2 years ago, and that was the Secret Wars.
I stopped during that time too.
Yeah, that was Marvel doing what DC did, and that was collapsing their entire story base and
start everything up again.
Simplifying things. Yeah. And it's like, okay, someone needed to bring Jean Grey back. As much as I like the way they brought her back, they still brought her back. And when they collapsed the all the multiverses, I was it's like, oh well, now everything I've read and everything I've grown up with,
it doesn't matter.
It's just going to be like a completely new. But you have to think about this though, is that like they have to make something for a new generation of kids, because the same relevance isn't going to the same things aren't going to be relevant to today's kids as they were for us, So they have to kind of make more relatable, timely stories for kids to be interested in the comics, you know?
Right. And you bring up a problem that I have with the big studios. It's this idea of, well, what do we have for kids? Well, make something for kids. Why go into the past, change it radically, and do it? The reason I like Miles Morales is because he's so different from Peter Parker.
Yeah.
And he tells a story that Peter couldn't tell, but could tell when he was first created back in the 60s.
Yeah.
This idea of a female James Bond, even to some degree a female Doctor Who, it's like, why do you need to change genders, change races? Why not just create a brand new character?
Yeah,
I agree with that.
I agree 100% with that. I feel like it is hard to create a new character, and the way that they probably like their creative teams work is probably like, hey, this is familiar for the older generation. We have to. They're going to be the ones that give their kids money to go see these
or
new,
take them.
Yeah. So I think maybe that's why they do it, but I wish they would stop doing it. I think they should just make new characters, and if they're really good at creating, they would find a way to make these characters like great for everybody.
Yeah.
And they don't have to keep going back to the past and changing genders and races and things like that.
But the name of the Hollywood game is like milking intellectual property to death.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is. Like
we own it, and
the safe
money out of it.
It's the safe bet. So it's
well, that's it exactly. If you're going to invest $200 million in a movie, they're going to take something that people are familiar with and do it. That's why there's this run of YA novels that nobody read, or I wouldn't say nobody read, but some people read, and they bought them and then made really bad movies of it. And that's not everything can be a Twilight, and that once that trend went, and they're doing the same thing here. The nice thing, like I said, about the Marvel Cinematic Universe is, they don't have iconic characters like the Justice League, Batman, Superman. So you can take an intellectual property and play around with it. And, as long as you get the spirit of why that character exists, you can tell the story you want to tell. And I think that's what Marvel's done so beautifully with their intellectual property.
I think so too.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Do you guys think that any of the other characters are going to make a return later in the MCU, like the Red Guardian or Iron Maiden? Or
I hope the Red Guardian comes back. I really, even though
I thought he was great.
He's like a dumb character. I think he was my favorite character in the movie. He was
hilarious.
His comedy wasn't forced like we could see in other MCU films when they want to make a joke. They'll do it, but his is like you buy it because that's his character. Like in the MCU right now, it's just he was this dumb oaf guy, but it was very. It was funny to me. It wasn't like overly done, so that's why I hope Red Guardian comes back somewhere.
Yeah. Well, as much as I like the Red Guardian, I felt like he was a completely different character than the first 20 minutes of the movie. The American Dad Red Guardian.
Yeah.
That was the only thing that bothered me. But then again, I just
Well, I mean, there was that gap that they didn't show from like then until he was like in jail and tattooed up and this whole different guy from the first 15 20 minutes.
But Melina's character, you can conceivably understand how she ended up where she was as the pig farmer.
Yeah.
With Red Guardian, it was like, wow, that's really
a big jump.
Yeah. Because it says something to me that if that was really him, the Red Guardian that we saw, then he's a really good actor to have portrayed the American Dad the way he was.
Or
it's just
too dumb to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's exactly what you said. He had to be that great of an actor and a spy to pull off all these different. Or these couple different versions of himself. The American Dad, and then, and then like the the super spy type, and then all of a sudden he's like dumb.
Yeah.
But maybe that's what prison does to you. I don't know.
Exactly. Yeah. This is the first time that I've seen a super soldier in prison, so I don't know how to base my judgment.
Yeah, like where do we go off of this? Like maybe the super serum works in a different way mentally when you're in prison for so long. I don't know.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we're so far from the Cold War that I don't know that you'd see a Red Guardian Winter Soldier team up.
Oh wow!
No, but I'm sure they could work it into either the Hawkeye series or the Captain America series. So
yeah. I mean that's the thing. That's the thing I've noticed is Marvel. I think a lot of fan service or. We saw this with Star Wars, where I think sometimes fans tend to build up this property too much in their minds, so that when it's ultimately portrayed on screen, we get disappointed because it doesn't match, what we thought Jedis would be.
Yeah.
And I think that's another thing that Marvel has going for it is we don't necessarily have an idea of who the Red Guardian is.
Yeah.
Shang-Chi coming out in September.
Oh,
I have one Shang-Chi comic book, and I only bought the one. And quite frankly, I know nothing of Shang-Chi.
No, I don't either.
So two things happened to me. One was that, thanks for making a Shang-Chi movie, but I have no connection with it.
Right.
And at the same time, I'm interested to see what Kevin Feige and crew are going to do with Shang-Chi and what kind of character they're going to make it. So that's the other aspect that excites me about it. But I'm not, it wasn't like finally they brought Shang-Chi to the big screen.
Yeah.
I don't know a single Asian American who was dying for a Shang-Chi movie.
Yeah, to me, when they announced it, I was like, they can't be running out of characters already, right? So
no, it's
there's a wokeness thing. It's like, here you guys go. Yeah.
So and as an Asian American who doesn't see American superheroes, but quite frankly, all our superheroes come from overseas. With imported martial arts films.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, yes. As much as it feels like virtue signaling, I'll still take it. I'm behind it until I actually see it. So
no, it looks good. It looks awesome, and I think that his father is the Mandarin, but I don't know
the real Mandarin. Although
the real Mandarin.
I know you still can't beat Ben Kingsley. I mean,
okay. Yeah, no.
Acting wise, yeah, but I mean, no, you can't. But the character, you could switch that out.
I have one more question. Do you guys think that there's any way that this isn't the last that we've seen of Black Widow, that maybe in Multiverse of Madness, like that she might come back somehow or something? Or do you think that she really is gone? Because I don't know anything about her contractual stuff or anything like that.
I think she's I think she's done. And even if she did come back in Multiverse of Madness, not in any significant way.
Yeah.
It would be like spoiler for Loki fans. It would be like seeing Sif in that returning scene, something like that. Like, oh, there she is, and then
and so I think it's done. I think as much as we love the characters, I don't fault them for retiring them.
I mean,
I don't want to see Robert Downey Jr. again, honestly, because his end was perfect.
Yeah.
Even to a degree, Chris Evans is Captain America. Maybe they'll bring him back as the Human Torch, but who knows? Fan rumor here. Let's do that. Let's start. Yeah, that's right. Chris Evans is coming back as the Human Torch in Multiverse of Madness. I don't know.
Now you're gonna see it on all the headlines. Film Thread exclusive.
Michael B. Jordan and Chris Evans are going to come back as Human Torch.
Oh wow! Yes, that's going
to create somewhat of a problem. He's already in the Black Panther, so
yeah. But see, that's the only reason. The only reason they would bring them back is so that fans could say, "Hey,
it's all connected."
It's all connected, and that's the only utility you're going to get out of it. And so, therefore, I think they're smart enough not to do it.
Okay, yeah.
Oh yeah, they did it with what's his name, Evan Peters, and
Yes, that was so cool.
that one was cool.
But
Yeah,
I said that it wasn't. But it wasn't Quicksilver. That
It
was
wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great casting. Though.
Ralph Boner.
Yeah, who came up with that name?
Oh, I love it. All right, so hey, yeah, check out Blood Red, Chris's comic book.
Oh, you had him on. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. How can people get that?
Instagram, we just do everything ourselves. My brother and I, we it's our own thing. So we just Instagram DM us on Blood Red Comics, and you can see all the stuff we're coming out with. We have new stuff on the way. So yeah,
awesome.
Cool. So yeah, thanks Chris, thanks Lorry for joining us. And with that, let's get out of here.